pretty funny anime from what I've seen so far. I just can't wait to get back to more of it.
Oh,
But yeah, it's
wait till you see him fly. That's all I gotta say is wait till you see him fly. You'll lose your shit. I honestly believe you probably will. I want to see a live cam of you watching it. Nick reacts.
Hello and welcome to another Damn Anime podcast. My name is Nick and I will be your host. Here with me is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Yeah, had a pretty uneventful Cinco de Mayo, so I didn't get so I'm not really suffering too much today. So all is good. How about yourself? You recovering at all?
I'm doing well. I only had one beer on Cinco de Mayo. And gosh, okay. Yeah, I see what I'm doing. Okay. I was looking at the clock and it's past midnight. So I was like, what happened to you? I thought Cinco de Mayo was yesterday. Okay. I got my bearings straight now. All right. Yeah. So I only had one beer. So, I was able to recover pretty well. I didn't have too much trouble. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. You know, it is episode 10. We've made it 10 whole episodes.
Double digits. All right.
We are in the double digits on this here anime podcast. And it's been a good 10 episodes, I think. We have made progress. We've had some missteps for sure. But we're still here. Haven't been banned yet. So that's saying something, I guess. But yeah, so we're in about, I guess, week 6, getting close to week 6 of the new spring anime season. I've been making it through a good bit of anime. I have almost succeeded in keeping my promise of watching at least the first episode of every single anime that comes out. Of course, that comes with a caveat because there's like 5 or so anime that are clearly for people under the age of 5, and I'm not gonna watch those. I'm just gonna.
So you're not watching the Soaring Skies Pretty Cure? I mean, seriously, dude, what a failure on your part.
I mean, I'm sorry. I admit defeat. But for everything else, I'm gonna try real hard. It's probably about 7 actually, but it's okay.
I would say the Marginal Service. I mean, that seems like totally up your alley.
I will watch the Marginal Service. I do have that planned. I will watch at least the first episode of that, although apparently it's not getting good reviews from fans. So, probably gonna just watch the first episode and then not really plan to watch any more. Pokemon 2023. Probably won't watch that either. But yeah, anyway, I have made some headway, like I was saying. There's a couple that I've watched that we mentioned last time that we wanted to get to, but hadn't really gotten to. I think the first one was Blue Orchestra. I managed to watch the first episode of that, and it's, yeah, so the main character's name is Ao, which basically means blue in Japanese. And his hair is blue. So I don't know. I don't know if Blue Orchestra is really the right title for it in English, but anyway, so it's kind of confusing. But the show itself is pretty decent. I watched the first episode. It has a decent conceit. Do you know anything about this anime?
Nope. It's one of those ones that I kind of want to get to, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So, yeah, fill me in. What's your impressions of the first episode?
So it is about a kid who is good at violin and definitely has some daddy issues because his dad was also a violinist. And his dad was like a rock star at the violin. It's kind of funny and kind of strange because he's like this, like, oh, I'm like really good at violin. He has like long hair and he doesn't dress like in like a suit or anything. He's kind of looks like a I don't know, like a hipster or something. Um, and apparently he was kind of a jerk to a lot of people around him. He was really hard on his son and made him learn violin. And so the kid Ao has all these like misgivings and kind of trauma around playing the violin. And so he's kind of working through that. And then there's this girl that he ends up meeting, and she is starting to learn to play the violin, and she's really bad at it. Um, and so hijinks ensue, and by the end of the episode, spoilers, but by the end of the episode, um, he has to teach her how to play violin. And so I'm assuming that there's going to be like more people that come in that he has to teach how to play an instrument for whatever reason, and then they are going to have an orchestra. So that's just my bold prediction for this show.
All right. Yeah. Considering the fact that Japanese is, I'll know orchestra, which would be, his orchestra, blues, the no being possessive.
Yeah,
So yeah, that makes sense if he would be forming an orchestra. But yeah, it's all right. I'm kind of curious. The reviews on it been all right from what I've saw. So it's one of those that I like a lot of the music ones because they kind of go all over the place. You have some that take it really serious. There was one a few seasons back about dealing with like some traditional instruments like koto and shamisen, and those were interesting takes on them. One was just like there's Japan does a lot of good stuff about the music industry, but it's kind of funny because they somehow make it into you almost feel like you're watching a sports anime. It's just like
yeah,
they really seem to milk the drama out of it or something like that. And like there's always someone who has the strict upbringing and they have those emotional scars from being taught so brutally. Uh, the only one that really never did that at any point in time was K-On! And I think that's why it's kind of like beloved as like the the most slice of life and like no just nothing kind of anime.
because it's not
It's like
chalk.
music's like just kind of like the side note, and it's just like the main thing is just them goofing off and be like, hey, we just have to practice really well together and it just happens to work out.
Yeah, it's
While if anyone else just goofed off this entire time, you wouldn't actually sound good at all.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not chocked full of trauma like all the other ones. I mean, like even Bochi the Rock is like chocked full of nervousness and anxiety surrounding. I mean, surrounding her life, but also, her music playing ability. Even though she's like really good, that she's still like very very worried about it. But yeah, just yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah, I think that helps to add some sort of drama to it and makes people kind of want to keep watching it. For I don't know, orchestra. It's not doing anything, that's particularly blowing me out of the water, but it's definitely not annoying. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But for you, anything cool that you've been watching?
well, I picked up since they dubbed it in English. Was at the Hell's Paradise.
Okay.
You mentioned it that you had started watching it like a few episodes back, and so I figured I'd give it a shot. It's I don't know, it's better than I expected. I guess the rough concept is a bunch of convicts being told to go to a mysterious island to find more or less like some magical eternal fruit kind of deal. And they are since they're convicts, they're escorted with essentially their executioners as their guards, and it's just an excuse to have a bunch of people with monstrous superpowers kind of murder each other.
Yeah.
Has a weird vibe, kind of like oh goodness, what was that sci-fi movie that came out a handful of years ago where maybe like 5 years ago had the the Natalie Portman or something like that in it. They went
Oh, it
into
does feel like that. It's the movie you're thinking of is Annihilation.
yes. So because they go into the unknown territory and people act weird, they're dealing with weird and mysterious things that they have no clue about that should defy the laws of nature, kind of like that. And so if I wouldn't be surprised to see a weird monster bear start screaming, um, that would fit right in with this anime. So, but it kind of gave off those vibes, which actually I thought was, it's a unique take. Their monster creations and like the bugs and stuff like that. Like they are good old Japanese creepiness. So if you are squeamish to things like body horror, then maybe not. This may not be for you. Um, but yeah, it's episode by episode three. Um, a lot's kind of happened in such a short time that not really big spoilers, but certain people die, and like I was surprised at some of the people they killed off right away. I was like, oh wow. One of the executioners who I thought was a bigger deal, they completely do him in, and I was like, they do him dirty too. I was like, wow, that was not expecting that. So I'm kind of curious about it. It's not really, I don't know. I don't really find it to be exceptionally great, but it does have my interest. So I'm considering it at least entertaining.
Yeah, I'm through episode 5 now. And I have kind of cooled on it a little bit. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. Just the, studio being Mappa kind of had me excited to see what they were going to do next. That first episode, I was like, what? This seems like just like a samurai show. And then whenever they did end up going to the island, I was like, oh, okay, I like this more now. I did also immediately see the similarities rather, to Annihilation. So if you've seen that movie, you probably will too. If you haven't seen that movie and you weren't planning on it, maybe hold off on that if you're trying to watch this anime, because there are some things about it that do feel really familiar, and I think it'll be different, but it might it might overplay some parts of it for you. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just seeing kind of too many things that are borrowed from other stories for me that are very recent, for me to like really enjoy this anime so far. The animation's good, the dialogue's okay, the pacing and all that stuff. All the kind of the minor stuff that holds up. Well, not really totally minor, but more of the minor stuff that kind of keeps you from getting pissed off at an anime is good, is fine. But after 5 episodes now, I'm kind of like, all right, I think I'm going to keep watching it, but I am definitely tempering my expectations. It's definitely not bad, but it is not going to. It for me, it's not really gonna take a number one spot, number two or number three. I don't even think, for me, but it's fine. So I'm kind of looking forward to continuing to watch it, and we'll just see how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah. But wait, speaking of borrowing a bunch of stuff from something else, I've been keeping up with Mashle, and so I finished the most recent episode, which was 5, and that one, you said it in the beginning, but you're like, yeah, it takes, it's like they go to a school of magic, and it's like Harry Potter. And I'm like, well, yeah, there is, but then as I've continued watching with that in mind, I'm like, they blatantly steal from Harry Potter. Like they don't even try to cover it up. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do Quidditch, but we're just gonna have one ring instead of 3. We're gonna do tournament with 3 different schools. I mean,
it's because it costs too much to animate 3 rings.
Yeah, it was just funny because the show itself is pretty stupid.
Called it.
I'm actually, but I really like it. The opening theme. I meant to mention this last time too. I like the opening theme quite a bit, but it's only because it also kind of reminds me of 2 other 2 other themes. One of which is Dimension W, which is a little bit older, and that one I can't remember if it was the opening or closer for that one. And then it also reminds me of Boom Boom Satellites. They do Back in Black, which is for, I think it was the credits for Ninja Slayer, which was also just the weirdest thing I've like. If you don't know anything about it, go into it blind and you think you're just having a fever dream. It's the best way I can say it. But that, like I said, the opening theme to Mashle kind of reminds me of those two um, different credits sequences, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like the music for it, and I also extremely love how stupid the ending credits is with the little dance routine that they do. It's so silly, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is the right kind of stupid. It fits right in line with everything that happens in the anime.
Yeah, I only got a chance to watch the first episode because I've been trying to watch a bunch of other things, but it is on my list of things to get back to. But yeah, like so in that first episode, they don't really do the Hogwarts thing until the end, and then he finally blah blah does all of his stuff and gets to the school, and then I kind of put that together with the cover, the robes that all the kids are in on the cover. And I was like, okay, this is going to be some kind of Harry Potter type stuff.
Robes aren't a big deal, but like they blatantly take so much more
I
from it.
know,
And I was just like,
but I was like,
yeah, that was really
I was like, the robes are one thing. And then whenever he goes to school, I was like, the robes plus the school plus the magic. I was like, this is, they're going to keep ripping off Harry Potter.
Dude,
And
I
it's
was
going
gonna say 80% of anime is like a school anime in one form or another. So I mean,
yeah.
if you're surprised that they're actually attending a school of some
I'm not
sort
surprised
for
about
anything,
that. I'm not surprised about
especially
any
when
of
it
it.
comes to fantasy.
I'm not surprised about any of it. I'm saying I called it. but but it is a pretty funny anime from what I've seen so far. I just can't wait to get back to more of it.
Oh,
But yeah, it's
wait till you see him fly. That's all I gotta say is wait till you see him fly. You'll lose your shit. I honestly believe you probably will. I want to see a live cam of you watching it. Nick reacts. Yeah.
yeah, just getting reaction videos. Yeah, first viral video. Anyway, so yeah, that's definitely one on my list. I'm glad that you're being able to keep up with it. Definitely encourages me to get back to it. So last time you had finished the first episode of Oshi No Ko, but I had not. I was a good way through it.
It's a big ask. I mean, episode 1 is like an hour and 20 minutes long. So
I really wish that I had kind of forced myself to go ahead and watch it before our last podcast, because it would have been a lot better. We would have had a lot better discussion about it in general. But I did manage to finish the first episode. I haven't watched any more than that. But I did manage to finish the first episode, and dang, man, that show is it's pretty pretty good. It was man, the early part is kind of serious enough, funny enough, but by the end there of that first episode, if you haven't watched it, you should stop watching this and go watch it, because it is really good. I'm sure you've heard, if you're listening to an anime podcast, you've probably heard about how good Oshi No Ko is. But it's very, it's just very good all the way around. And I totally see why they decided to do, a big long, hour and 20-minute episode for the first episode, because it really does set up the series, set up the show, and get you attached to the characters and what they're trying to do there.
yeah, because if you did it 3 separate episodes, it'd be really hard to maintain interest by the 3rd episode. I mean, by the end of like, if you did it in 3 episodes, the 3rd one you'd be hooked by then. But I think you'd lose a lot of people by episode 2. And then just by making everyone sit through the first bit, it has multiple like high points, and they do a good job on it. So it's well animated. They still retain a lot of the stupidity and funniness of it. And that's kind of what throws you for a loop, especially for episode 1, because like, oh wow, they start off with like slapstick pretty much, and then they'll drive some seriousness, but then they'll quickly like revert back to, he has a flashback about a patient, and he tries to be like sensitive, and then the nurse is like, so you're just a lolicon then,
Oh yeah,
or a
that
predator.
that was
And
like
she's
first
like,
five. Yeah, go
and
ahead.
he's like, I'm trying to have a serious moment here with you. And it's so they'll kind of hide a lot of that stuff, and then you know uh, they do a good job about flopping back and forth and making let down your guard again, and that's pretty much what happens. So they end the episode one with having a good goal in mind for the series,
Yeah,
not just then that's the thing, is if it has something that you're striving for and it makes it more interesting and more suspenseful. uh Slight spoiler, if
well, I
or
was
at
gonna
least my
say,
prediction.
I think that we should go ahead and step into spoiler territory now, like
All
officially,
right, cool.
and just kind of, so if if you haven't watched it, I recommend go watch it, because we're gonna be talking about spoilers from this point, at least for that first big long episode. Yeah, so I have some couple things I'd probably want to say, but you go ahead.
Oh no. All right, I'm just gonna straight out say that just based on episode one, and the way the kids look. um so at the very end, when they're showing a lot of the tabloid coverage,
Yeah,
one of the images shows a potential connection to somebody that she might be her like love interest, or they're showing this blonde guy,
you mean the
because it's showing
mother?
like a guy, and was it
You mean the
the
mother's
mother,
love
the
interest?
mother's potential love interest,
Right.
because they show this blonde guy, this other girl, blonde girl, and then they show her on the side being like, yes, she's interfering with them, and then on the far side is the college student, and so the stalker. So that's, I'm like, all right, just gonna call it on episode one based off of that alone, being like, all right, it's him. It's like a red herring. Like, they just show some tabloid stuff, you blow by, and then later on it's gonna come back to him in the end. Um,
So it's the college guy. So hang on a second. So
College guy's the stalker.
right, okay,
And so the tabloids, the moment after uh his death, and you have the people who are mourning, and then you have the people who are um then you have they quickly go through how the cynics start turning on, and like everyone's like, oh yeah, idols don't deserve to essentially have relationships, and so on and so forth. And one of the tabloids shows, essentially supposed to make it look like a love triangle, like a potential love couple,
right.
and then one of them's a blonde dude, and then on the outside is her, being like, yeah, she's interfering with this couple, and then on the far outskirts is the stalker.
Okay.
It was her fault for having a relationship, potential relationship with this guy, and so the stalker, of course, he was going to be upset about it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, no, go on, man.
Yeah.
Let's hear what you
No,
have
yeah.
to think about this.
I think you're probably right. The whole thing about the father is definitely going to be a big thing for the series going forward. It's going to be a big reveal, I imagine, at some point. But yeah, I thought it was very good. Through about 60-70% of the show. Of the first episode, and but it wasn't until the end of that episode where the mom gets killed that I was like, oh dang, I know now, I understand what all this was for. Like, I was kind of like I was pretty sure that the mom was gonna die somewhere in the middle there, but I was like, I just wasn't really thinking about it. And then, like, whenever she did die, the way that they animate that and go through kind of that whole process is very sad, but it's very effective for kind of hooking you emotionally, because they do a really good job of making you like the mom. Like, she's really cool. Obviously, she's like really talented, and like everybody likes her and stuff like that. But she's also very kind and hardworking. And so whenever she and the two main characters, I guess, they like her so much, and they do a good job of like setting up, their relationship. But they like her so much that you kind of just feel like you should like her too. So whenever she does die, It is super sad. And it's like, you've scarred me. You've hooked me. You totally hooked me on this anime. You've got me to watch one really long episode, but I am definitely in it for, I mean, the next 3 episodes could probably be total trash, and I'd probably still watch all of them. Much more than that, and I'd probably have to start considering bouncing off, but I don't think it'll be that way. So what I'm saying is they don't have to, they've done a really good job of hooking me, and I think of hooking a lot of people. And I think it's going to be a very successful show, at least for this season. I don't know how many seasons that they have planned, but yeah, very good. It's really good.
Yeah, they the way they animate her death. They take out the sparkle in her eyes. That's
Dude,
super
yeah.
effective.
So freaking sad. Oh, it hurts me.
Yeah, so it's but yeah, there I believe there's 12 episodes slated for this season, and
Okay.
it's looking, so far it's looking really good. I'm glad you got around to watching it, and the next couple episodes are worth watching.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
I think it shows that the studio believes in it a lot, because is it going to be 12, including this big long one? So basically, essentially in runtime, it is probably about 15 or 16 episodes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's 11 episodes slated for this season is what it is. And yeah, so you got 11, then technically if the first one was the standard length, you're looking at what, 12, 13, maybe 14ish squeezed out of there. So generally it'd be like a 12 episode series plus the standard 1 or 2 OVAs that you get afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, the source material, I'm not sure if it's finished yet or not, and so that would also determine a lot, because if it is finished, then they can properly plan the story arc accordingly. Yeah, I actually know nothing about the actual manga at all, so I I'm pretty sure there's a manga tied to this.
I think
But
so.
once again, it's just, yeah, I never touched it before. That's why I wasn't sure, 100% sure with this. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. They introduce by episode 1, they introduce a bunch of side characters. At the last minute, all the poster kids essentially.
Yeah.
Everyone who's on the cover, and currently there's only episode 4 is out right now. So there's only essentially another episode 1 worth of content for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's man, it is a really good show so far. I'm looking forward to watching some more of it. I at your behest, I watched the first episode of Mahou Shoujo Magical Destroyers. Haven't watched anything beyond that, but I did manage to watch the first one. Man, there's a lot that freaking happened in that first episode. It had like a whole, I don't know, 3-year long war, and it's pretty wild. But it sets up pretty well for what they're going to be going with going forward. Yeah. So thanks for recommending that. I don't think I would have watched that quite so soon if you hadn't said something.
I actually heard it from a buddy of mine. It's not even on my normal player. Like it's like buried. It doesn't even hit the main page, which is weird, because anything they update, it comes to the front. I had to actually type it in by name to pull it up out of the system. It wouldn't even pop up when you the predictive text. It'll show everything that's listed under Mahou. No, I had to type in the full thing to get it to even pop up. I have no idea why they buried it so hard in their algorithm. I mean, it's not necessarily the best, but man, it reminds me a lot of FLCL in certain ways. It's just such a weird, crazy thing, is just to put it politely. And it's just fun to watch, just if anything else, just to see something different. And I'm not sure how I've only watched the first couple episodes, so if you continue watching that, we'll talk more about it then.
Yeah.
But I generally think it's fun. I just this last the most recent, the most recent episode I hadn't seen, or last week's, and I don't know about this current week yet. So yeah, It's good though. I've had a good time with that. I've caught up because of your recommendation. I started watching the Galaxy Next Door, or A Galaxy Next Door,
That's it. Yeah.
and yeah, so that one was it's getting dubbed, so I'm only on episode 3, but it's entertaining. I'm liking it. It's a little cute slice of life thing. Uh, I don't know. It's fun. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you continue watching that one at all,
I
or
haven't had a chance to get back to it, but it's one that I do plan to keep watching. It's on, I wouldn't say the short list, it's on the medium list of ones to keep going with. But yeah, it was all right. It's probably got, it probably has a little bit more story to tell. I'm kind of excited to see. But yeah, so yeah, those two. There is another one that I watched just today, the first episode. I don't know how long I'll stick with it, but I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Kawaisugi Crisis, or basically in English it'd be Too Cute Crisis.
it's the animal shop or whatever, the cafe.
Yeah, yeah. So the premise of this one is that there are aliens that are about to destroy Earth, and these aliens look like people, but there's these aliens that are about to destroy Earth, but they send somebody down, this lady down to Earth to see if there's anything worth saving and bringing back, and so she comes down and she wanders around and ends up at a cat cafe, and she doesn't know what a cat is, and she's brought into the cat room, and she is blown away by how cute the cats are, and like she says, like that in like the whole galaxy, there's not anything like this cute. And then like they show her like dogs and like talk about like other stuff, and she's just like completely blown away by how cute cats are, and so so you can tell that they are going to make it so that they don't want to destroy the planet because of the cute animals that are on Earth. It's kind of funny. I think it could be funnier if they maybe did a couple things differently, but it's a nice chill anime, and the conceit is pretty funny and interesting, I think. So yeah, it's all right.
All right. Yeah, I'm probably not going to give that one a shot. There's a bunch of other mediocre stuff that I'm still currently watching that I probably shouldn't be watching, but I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah,
So like
it's toward the bottom of the mediocre pile, after one episode. So, yeah, I wouldn't blame you, and yeah, but I don't know. It's a good idea. It's just maybe not executed as well as it really needs to be. But yeah, anyway. So, is there anything else that you've been watching?
I picked up the Dead Mount Death Play.
Okay, yeah.
2 episodes dubbed, so I finished those up. And episode 1 makes it sound like takes itself like really serious, but
Yeah.
then by episode 2, it takes itself way more lighthearted. It's like they make things a lot of gag moments. Spoilers for episode 1 ending and opening of episode 2. The assassin that's trying to kill him, he murders, he stabs through the chest. The episode 2, they immediately start him off with him saying some sort of line like, "Now it's time to get started," and then there's no reaction from her, and then it's like it becomes chibi mode where the skeleton hand that harpooned her through the stomach starts like wiggling her, and she's not moving, and he's like, "What? This is all it takes to kill somebody?" Like and then he starts getting that real disconnect where the mob or the group organization she works for surrounds him, and he's just like, "Yeah, why don't you guys just use a revive or something like that, use a potion," and everyone's looking at him crazy. So there's that kind of awkwardness, and then he starts doing stuff like doing open movement thanks to his abilities and his magic, just in broad daylight. He'll jump from rooftop to rooftop and just blatantly use his abilities, and one of the guys who's kind of observing him is just kind of losing his mind. He's just like, "Why are you doing this?" So it's I think it's going to be way more lighthearted, but that first episode does take itself super seriously. Um, but yeah, I mean that one seemed okay. I'll continue to watch at least the next couple episodes, and yeah, that's the only real new thing I watched. I did start the first episode of season 2 of in Spectre, and that one season it's just more or less about a girl who becomes an Ayakashi god, and she sacrifices a leg and an eye. Um, and she partners up with a guy who happens to have eaten was that a flesh of a mermaid, which makes him immortal, and one other monster that I can't remember the name of it now, but it's Kunodon, I think it is, which is the like a monster that can see the future, but then immediately dies afterwards. So he's able to see the future, but because of the restorative powers of the mermaid flesh, he's able to come back to life, and making him like a immortal and super tough opponent to fight. Uh, and he helps her with these case by case basis of like different Ayakashi monsters, like and their interactions with humans and stuff like that. It's the first season was okay. You kind of want it to be more, but it's very like just lighthearted, and they don't have a really big overarching story. It's just like it's kind of like any procedural show. One or two episodes of one story, and then you just move on to the next. This seems to be just more of that. So it's not anything bad, but it's not anything great. Yeah, it is just kind of what it is. I was actually surprised they got a season 2, and I guess I'll be continue to be surprised that they have a season 2 as I'm watching, unless if something picks up. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I was kind of wondering because I was like, I haven't seen that one, but I I just I guess I hadn't noticed that there was a season 2 of that. But yeah, that sounds pretty good though. I mean, it sounds like it might be kind of interesting. But
it's different, that's for sure. Yeah.
that's cool. Well, that's it for me as far as what I've been watching. That's like really new. I guess I've been watching some Demon Slayer. That's good. But it's still just Demon Slayer, so not really too much more to report on that right now. But yeah, so unless you have anything more, I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah, I finished the Bofuri, that the girl who's plays the MMO who just does nothing but defense. So
Oh yeah,
season 2 just finished. So if you like season 1, watch season 2. It's more of the same. It is literally just the most slice of life MMO world thing you can be in. It's it's cute. It's nothing bad. It's more fun to just watch them. It's just every new obstacle, she just dominates one form or another. And it's just like, okay, how much more ridiculous can this get? And I'm just kind of in for it. It's a very good background thing to do, you know.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, it literally is nothing special, but it's nothing offensive. It's nothing bad. So it's just right there in the middle. But yeah, that's all. That's the only thing new that or interesting that's happened. The rest of the stuff is the same that you've heard before. All those things are going strong for the most part, or at least maintaining. So hopefully, hopefully we might either get something new or something might change in some of the other ones. I might start Doctor Stone season 2 because they're on 3 episodes dubbed of that.
oh
But I hadn't even watched the movie. I actually really,
jeez,
season 1 was okay. But he has a couple catchphrases that just irk the crap out of me, like the original Naruto.
mm,
So yeah, it's a very shonen, it's a shonen ass shonen series.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, so we are kind of settling into like the middle of the season now, so there's not as much, surprises kind of around the corner. But we'll probably, uh, we will see how the season goes and report back. Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for us this time. So yeah, we'll see you guys later.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.